Thank you for watching Creative Force Trauma, a verbal exploration of the dynamics of creative expression. Live well, ne'er do well.
Yeah, it's really nice out here. I'm feeling this day right now. It's fucking awesome.
Could you not feel the day? Like,
Yeah.
very
yeah.
literally, like you could just go numb to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do
Really?
it all the time. So yeah, as far as talking about creative energy is what we're trying to check in on. Kira's got a lot of creative conduits, which is part of the reason why she's one of my favorite people. Just as long as I've known you, you've just done like all kinds of shit.
I love the compliment parts of these.
So yeah, just like what are your creative conduits by your account?
Writer first, comedian, poetry goes under writer, I guess. Art,
Really awesome artist. I have one of your pieces in my bathroom.
oh yeah, you have the smoking girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember that. Vaguely music, but that's just something I preserve so I have an element of play. It's not something I try to get good at.
Which kind of makes me want to bring up one of the really big creative workflow things that I've been utilizing a lot is just having multiple conduits. So like I switch around a lot. So like I'll spend like a couple days working on music and then just like completely stop doing music and like do some visual stuff.
Yeah, I also think, I mean, repetition for sure is probably going to be like your number one killer for creativity.
Yeah.
And
Just
also
like getting burnt out.
I mean, it sounds really like silly and trivial, but it's actually important to just play. Like creativity is just like an extension of playing.
Yeah.
That's playing in reality and offering it to people. Once it stops being play, once it stops being fun, then I think your brain is just like it can't function that way. Like you can't force something to be interesting. And if you're inherently doing something interesting, you can't force it to happen when it's not there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. That's why like I think a lot of people talk about like when they monetize their creative conduits, they kind of like lose it because
Yeah.
you're then like taking what is free-flowing energy and like trying to put it in a box. By some people's account, it doesn't work like that.
You look at it a little differently after a certain point. Like once you develop skill and technique, things that can be worked, things that don't necessarily have to be interesting, but they aid the interesting thing you do. It's still like being an artist, but it's a different kind of being an artist. It's being a commercial artist where you get to hone skills that you would use on the interesting thing, but you don't necessarily have to check into the creative part in order to do that.
Right. I feel like that's kind of like really the goal in a way, you know, is to be able to like successfully monetize but still do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Yeah. That doesn't necessarily have to be creative to do it too. You end up doing all sorts of weird side work.
Multiple
in a way,
conduits, that is
that keeps
key
it
right there.
interesting. So.
I mean, even people who talk about like financial things usually have like multiple hustles, you know? So what about creative pitfalls, like things that basically just like zap you of your creativity? I'll start with one that I think everyone can probably relate to, which is like intoxicants of any kind. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, be more creative with intoxicants, and which is like true to a certain extent. In my case, I actually have a higher success rate if I abstain.
Well, I feel like that goes back to kind of the like routine thing. Like you can't routinely do anything and expect to come up with new thoughts.
If you're like your ritual is like, I'm gonna smoke a bowl and then do this, like that may actually end up like fucking you over in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, you might end up with some original takes on it for a little while because it'll
Right.
be new to be only doing that, but then once that fades off, there's that idea of like artists always struggle with kind of like emotional chaos and therefore you lean very heavily on substances because you
Yeah.
think it helps even you out,
Mm-hmm.
but then they start like stealing your dream.
I feel like that's like jazz musicians.
I think it's like everything, but it's just how far it takes hold of you. Because, like, I think intoxicants can be fun, and I think there is a way to handle them. That looks like my friend's truck. Shit, train of thought.
Distractions.
Fine.
That's kind of on topic right there because intoxicants can equate to distractions.
Yeah, like anything that narrows your focus to a singular thing is inevitably going to kill your creative drive. I do definitely get why they're so appealing. Like we were talking about, traveling just makes you feel altered.
Yeah.
So
You're like in a
just hypersensitive.
Yeah.
You become more aware of everything around you, so you're looking at things differently.
yeah
Drugs are a quick, cheap, and relatively
way to
effective
shift
way
your
to do it.
perspective. Yeah, for
So,
sure.
I don't personally see anything wrong with that, but I do think that there's
Yeah.
obviously ways to mistreat.
You got to be honest with yourself is what it boils down to. Make an honest assessment of like how it works for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and for some people it really doesn't.
Nope.
And
I know that for sure. I like work with rappers who are like, yo, I'm gonna smoke this blunt, and then like they can't perform.
yeah,
It's like, all
I've
right,
seen
dude.
a lot of comedians. The 420 show, apparently the headliners,
Oh, there was the
I
420
think,
show.
at the Oriental.
Okay.
I wasn't there, obviously, but I guess the
Did
headliners.
you enjoy
walked
some
out.
420s? Smoke a 420?
I did not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Green beer? Oh no, that's the other day
Yeah.
where people get fucked
Patties.
up.
St.
Okay,
Patties
yeah.
is green beer. That would be really funny to do on 420.
What about, this is something that I've been kind of learning a lot too. In the past, I kind of had this idea that like I could achieve maximum productivity by isolating myself. It kind of was like this supreme moment where I realized that it's actually the complete opposite. So like, how do you feel about the comedy community? Because I feel like the whole point of community is to kind of help each other out. But I feel like that's not always the case.
Everyone's gonna have their own experiences, but I've felt pretty okay with Denver comedy. Denver has a really interesting balance that's shifting, but will hopefully not go too far either way. There's a lot more support than other scenes.
Right.
Which,
I feel like a lot of scenes for all creative conduits get to that like cutthroat point where it's like there's so many people competing that people are like almost like stifling each other if they can.
well, there's an element of that. It's not.
Don't be that guy. Don't be the guy who wants to basically stifle other people.
Well, that
because
just takes a lot of your own time
it does.
and energy.
And the truth of the matter is like, and I had a hard time realizing this myself, but you're going to be able to make more progress as a team. That's just the way that humans are.
That's true, but for something like comedy, yes, you can get way further as a team. Like
Does anybody do like dual comedy like on stage together? Is that not a thing?
like Sklar Brothers do that.
Okay. Yeah, I
It's a
don't-
really good hosting technique if you're hosting
Oh,
a
okay.
show.
So like alternate host.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But the thing is, especially in this is a really tough thing to explain, but like in something that's so community based, you also have to recognize that nobody has extra hands to help you if it doesn't also help themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. That
Um,
sounds like life.
Yeah. And it's not like you have to get over very quickly that it's not personal, it's just what happens. And then you'll end up doing it and you'll feel like a dick about it, but that's just you can't take people with you if you're not entirely sure where you're going. Like
Yeah.
if you are sure where you're going and you have an objective in mind, like of course you're going to take people with you because the whole point is to share it with other people. But sometimes you just don't know where that is. Like,
Yep. Or sometimes it just doesn't work out, you know.
Yeah.
That happens. Try to work with people and it doesn't work out, which is fine. You know, just go with the flow.
yeah.
Universe, man.
Yeah, anything creative requires a great deal of flexibility, self-awareness, as best as you can cultivate it, which sometimes means taking really brutal criticism.
Ah, yes, I love brutal criticism.
Yeah,
I
and
do.
sometimes you need brutal criticism just so you can be like, fuck you, no, I'm not. Like,
Do stuff with your friends, you know what I mean? Make your friends do stuff, you know? Like, that's what I do. I made her do this. It's
That's
kind of
true.
fun. But if they don't want to do stuff, then maybe they shouldn't be your friends. No, I'm kidding. You're fired. So we were kind of talking about how certain rituals can be stifling, but do you have any rituals that are 100% success rate? Like me, if I have like a day where I know I'm going to be like, you know, in the lab working on something, I have a very like almost like 100% success rate ritual that I use where I basically like wake up, eat a solid breakfast, meditate, work out in some fashion, then I sit down and I'm just like 100. Do you have any like rituals that are like super effective that you do regularly?
nope,
None? Okay.
none.
Cool.
I would say that there's things that I definitely don't do. If you can have like an inverse ritual, don't listen to music when I'm writing.
Okay. That's interesting.
I would
That's
do it when
very
I
interesting.
draw,
Okay.
but I cannot do it when I'm writing.
I actually like listening to music when I write.
I find it incredibly distracting. It makes it harder for me to hold on to the entire thought that I was having.
On that note, there's actually this streaming music service called Focus at Will that is like music that's scientifically selected to help you focus. There's like a whole bunch of like algorithms and things that they use, but one of the main ones they use is that they avoid anything that has the human voice in it. Instinctually, no matter what we're doing, if we hear the human voice, we react. I love that website. But I do think that's really cool and interesting that you don't listen to music.
I mean, only for that purpose.
For writing?
Like, yeah. Like akin to like staring at a painting and then still trying to write something. Like, it would be a little tough for your brain
splitting
to handle both.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm very single-minded, or I try to be as best as I can. A huge fan of chunking.
What is chunking?
A really simple thing that I think they've proven psychologically helps you commit things to memory. It's where you only do something for a certain length
for
of
like
time.
Quick bursts.
Yeah, and then you stop.
Yeah,
and then you do another one.
I've heard of that.
Stop.
Take a break, like 1 hour to like 90 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean I'll do that for like 8 or 9 hours, depending on what I've got going on. For sure, I find that very helpful, especially with something like comedy where there's a lot of busy work you have to do. That's really tough to motivate. Booking emails is really tedious to me. Putting up show promotions is really tedious to me. So in order to like get back to writing what I want to, and then you'll find yourself very creatively driven after doing something you really didn't want to do for 5 minutes. Sleep is important to creativity, no matter what they tell you.
No, I'm gonna fight club it. I'm only gonna sleep 2 hours a night. I feel like creativity and creative workflow and things of that nature are something that creative people should kind of discuss. You know what I mean? Why not? It's like, especially if you're the type of person that basically realizes that your reality is completely contingent on creativity. Why not, treat it with a little respect? The creative workflow, avoiding the pitfalls. You have to gauge your own pitfalls, determine like what is hazardous for you, what works for some people doesn't work for everyone. The community aspect, which is like reoccurring, man. Like use your peers, work with your peers, help your people out, build each other, you know what I mean?
Also remember you're creating whatever you're creating for other people.
Ultimately,
yeah.
Right? It's really easy to be like, I'm an artist, I create for myself, But at the end of the day, it's completely contingent on the validation of external sources. Create something and like nobody ever gives a fuck about it, then it's like, why did you even create it?
It takes that level of self-awareness. We could go down a really long rabbit hole because I've been thinking about this a lot on this trip.
Chilling in the park.
Yeah.
Chilling in the park. Beautiful day.
This is a weird way to set this up, but you know that any Aphex Twin video, how he puts his face on everybody?
Yes.
Like looking at those, it's sort of like that's what it means. Like you are putting yourself out there, but it's really weird to see yourself on someone else. Like when you create for you, whatever you're creating has to be given to someone and they take away from it. But if that's not something that they identify with and that they're only taking like your art from, it's really uncomfortable and invasive kind of. It's just if you're creating for yourself and then forcing it on other people, what you're doing is a little gross in an intellectual way, and just very strange to the outside observer. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get this graphic, but imagine that you're just like jerking off into your hand and throwing it at people. Like if they're not attracted to you, that's a really gross and weird thing to do. And there's a fraction of the planet that's going to be into it.
There's a market for everything,
Yeah, and you're looking for the people who are willing to let you throw your cum in their face. That's
Indeed.
art.
That's what it is. That's what it all boils down to.
Yeah.
People who are willing to look at all of your weird, disgusting bits.
Yeah.
I like that, though. It's kind of true, man. Because like I said before, I've been the complete opposite. I've been like complete introvert art guy. I don't even like really talk about my art, really. You know what I mean? I think it's out of a desire to just not be like that guy, like, oh yeah, I do stuff.
And that's another weird thing because you have to talk about it. That whole, like we keep saying, that fake it till you make it thing, which sounds so cheesy and stupid.
You do. You really do. It's like believing in yourself, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to believe there's validity to throwing cum in people's face.
Exactly. You have to trust in yourself.
This is a public park. I just remembered that.
Yeah, it is. I don't think anybody's really paying attention to us.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fun.
It's all right, man. They're being gentrified. They're not. They have other things to worry about around
Oof.
here.
Yeah. Bonkers.
Yeah. I wonder where they're gonna put the Chipotle.
Probably next to the community garden.
Yeah, that
Actually,
sounds
they're
good.
gonna grow the Chipotle peppers there.
Oh, that's money. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks
and
for having me.
Yeah, I enjoy your company as always.
I know, you're my bud.
Yeah.
I enjoy your company as well. I should probably not just leave it at. I know you do.
Yeah. Unreciprocated enjoyment.
Yeah.
And yeah, have a beautiful day.